Night Movies with Rob and Zack. This is a podcast about cinematic oddities, where we discuss any media that is too bizarre, abnormal, or off-kilter for contemporary audiences. Occasionally, these projects gel. Most times they crash hard into the realm of obscurity. Join us as we delve into the cult classic Swamp. I'm Zack.
And I'm Rob. And here on Cinemodities, once again, we have another first. I'm kind of thinking at this point, why did I even start pointing out firsts? We were going to have basically rapid-fire firsts since we've almost just started this podcast. But we have another one. This is one I don't think Zack and I saw coming, but it is one that I think is going to be taken advantage of quite a bit in the future. Last week, we said that we were ending our Dean Norris series, but we are here this week to bring you an addendum, an appendix to the Dean Norris series. How do you think of this, Zack?
I see it as a bonus. It's a bonus episode of misery.
It's a bonus episode of misery. I like that. What about an addendum of misery? I think that sounds pretty cool.
What? As long as there's some misery involved, I think we've nailed it.
All right. So, yes, even though we finished up, technically, our Dean Norris series, we are continuing on. And this is something, what we're talking about with Dean Norris in it, is something that I don't think Zack and I had ever heard about before it was pitched to us by one of our listeners. Have you ever heard of this prior to that tweet? That tweet heard round the Cinemodities, Zack?
Yeah, I've heard of this before, Pork Night. I didn't know about Dean Norris's involvement until
you
Pork
knew
Night,
the show.
But I was aware of this show.
One of our dedicated listeners, Porg Knight.
Excuse me, dedicated listener.
Dedicated listener. I don't know. I think Mr. Norris is one of our dedicated listeners, especially now that we're doing a bonus episode on him, right?
I think so.
We'll get him in here one more week. But yes, so Porg Knight tweeted us. He used the power of a tweet to tell us about the TV show Claus. And so this has nothing to do with Santa Claus, as I originally thought. It has to do with claws as in like talons, and that is reference to nails. This show is basically centered around a nail salon. But we'll get into that. I want to say thank you, Porg Knight. I always love finding new stuff that I can complain about. I always love finding new stuff that has Dean Norris in it. And as we're going to talk about, this doesn't just add to my Dean Norris universe, the Dean Norris universe. This gave me my favorite Dean Norris scene out of anything ever. And that's kind of just a little preview of what we got to talk about today. But apparently, which something I did not know, Zack had heard of this show before. To what capacity? Like a commercial? You heard it come out? You heard good things, bad things? What?
The show premiered in July of 2017. And I guess in the lead up to its premiere, they played like it was advertisements all over the place. I guess you couldn't watch TNT or any of the Turner-owned network without seeing some sort of commercial for it. Okay. And I remember watching it, and the only reason why it even slightly blipped on my radar, the woman, our lead actress of the movie, of the show, Niecy Nash.
Yep.
She was in a TV show I loved called Scream Queens, where she played the memorable character of Special Agent Denise Hemphill. And I absolutely loved her as the incompetent, bumbling, I forget what she was in season 1. I think season 2 she becomes the FBI agent. No, she's the security guard who becomes an FBI agent in season 2. Excuse me.
If you are in danger, scream Denise Hemphill's name real loud. I will be on the premises at all times, and I will come a-running. Now, let's just say you scream Denise Hemphill's name, and I do not come a-running. That means I'm not on the premises. Okay, in that case, proceed to step 2. Call 1-866-KLJ-0199. Okay, I will be notified immediately and come a-running. If you can't get through to the 866 number because of long wait times and such, then what you're going to want to do is proceed to step 3. Get the hell out of there. Run away.
And I just liked her. Anytime I see her in anything, I go, oh, it's Denise Hemphill. That's who it is. She's not an actress. She's an FBI agent. And so I saw her because she has a very unique appearance. And I saw this show, and I can still remember when Porg Knight first pitched this to us, I thought he was talking about some sort of weird, like, B movie. Like with a title like Claws, when you think of like, oh, there's a media project called Claws, you automatically think of something with like nails, like a creature.
To be honest, Zach, when I first heard Claws, I really thought it was going to be like Santa mixed with an eagle. Like Santa had talons and was on a killing spree. That was what I thought, but I agree with the fact that it would have been like bad B movie. I was not expecting TV show.
No. And so when I looked into this, I'm like, it's this show. And going back once again to the commercials of July 2017, I don't remember what the commercials entailed, but what's the old saying? People don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. Well, the commercials for Claws made me feel repulsed. And when I actually watched the show, I'm glad to know that my emotions at the time matched up with the content of the material that gave me that sickening feeling to my stomach during the ads that it had last summer. So, so Porg Night, I know it's always best to share your feelings, but next time maybe vet them a little bit more. That's all I'm asking for.
I don't know. I'm thinking with that perspective you just gave us, Zach, I'm thinking now that Porg Night deserves something like, like an honorary, like a Cinemodities gold star. Like he brought you something where, correct me if I'm wrong, your suffering was legendary?
I would definitely put it in that realm.
I think he's won my respect. That's pretty cool, Porg Night, because I was not repulsed by this. We'll get into how I think about it, but
I want to give my impression of Rob's feelings on this show. As I'm watching this, for the record, I got 1 show and a half into this, and I seriously contemplated turning it off because I'm like, this is just the worst garbage I've ever seen. And yet as I'm watching, I trudged through it. And I think we haven't brought it up yet though, but I don't know, Rob probably watched next season already, knowing Rob watches like one thing, it's like, this is awful, but I'm gonna watch all of it to make sure that I'm aware of how awful it is. I only watched the first 5 episodes. Rob, how many episodes did you watch? Did you get access to season 2 already, which doesn't premiere for another month?
Well, no, I did not. Zach, that's a good thing you bring up though. So originally, when this was pitched to us and we decided we wanted to do our bonus addendum episode of Misery in the Dean Norris series, I said, I have access to the show on Hulu. Zach, do you have access to it? And Zach told me he had access to the second half of the first season, episodes 6 through 10. And I said, that's great. I'll watch the first half, you watch the second half. Together we'll form a real person, we'll talk about it. And then I think, what was it, 4 days ago? Zach just drops on me, yeah, we're not doing that. I watched the first 5 episodes.
Well, the thing about it was that, like, I am an old person. I am a grandpa. I am not a cord cutter. I have cable. And when I first told Rob about my access to the latter half of season 1, all it gave me access to were episodes 6 through 10. But it had like a little thing on the bottom that says expires like in blank days. And obviously, I misjudged that because when I went back to watch it, I did not have access to the latter half of the season, only the first 5 episodes. And I'm like, well, I have to watch something, so I might as well watch it from the beginning instead of just not watching anything at all. So I don't know what happens when you have access to these things. I guess they play around with the access to the episodes. I don't know why you'd only give access to the latter half of the season, immediately pull that, and then give the first 5. It doesn't make sense to me in a logistics way. It's like, why not just put the whole thing up there, or just like one episode, like the first episode is like a preview? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, even on Hulu, you see that things expire. Some things say expiring constantly. I think Daria has said it's going to expire for like the last 3 years, and it's still on there. So who knows, Zach? Who knows? But yes, Claws, first 5 episodes. That is all I watched. Now, once Zach dropped this bombshell on me that I wasn't going to get to hear a version, I was really excited to hear Zach's version of the second half of the season. When I learned I wasn't going to get any version, I read what happens. I read the episode synopses, so I do have some knowledge of where the season goes. Season 2 comes out pretty soon, I think sometime in June. But I think I agree with Zach. I have no plans to ever watch any of this show again.
Folks, I am genuinely shocked by that. Like, I was honestly expecting to be like, you know what? I love this show, greatest show ever. I just don't like doing the classic trademark Rob thing, where it's like, this show is mind blowing. I don't know what you don't love about the idea of a bunch of like white trash laundering prescription medication out of a nail salon. That's just an incredible idea. Like, I am shocked I'm not getting that. Like, I'm a little disappointed I'm not getting the insane hyperbole I get when I say I don't like this stuff.
I have to comment. I've said it before on this show, I'm pretty sure. Whenever Zack does an impersonation, it is Marge Simpson. But that time, that wasn't Marge Simpson. That was a pretty good version of my affect, I think. I don't think the pitch or the tone was there, but the affect was pretty good. So I wanted to say that. It didn't sound like Marge Simpson. I'm proud of you, Zack.
Just like Amelia Clark.
I imagine Zack practices his impression of me in front of the mirror for like 2 hours before we record every time. But so no, I was not blown away by the show. But Zack, don't worry, you're gonna get the beautiful embellishment and hyperbole and the passion, and you're gonna get it for my big problem with this show. Because this is where I want to start. I want to start about this actual show. I think with us only watching 5 episodes and us coming off so strongly with our opinions on how we don't really want to watch it ever again, how Zack is repulsed by it. I do think a lot about this show is great. I think the performances are great. I think the performers are great. They got a really great cast. I really, really do like some of the dialogue. Some of it is a little corny. Some of it is awesome, though. Even the emotional stuff's always corny. I really like the perspective. But what's not great is the storytelling. That is my biggest problem with this. And I do have a lot to say about that. But Zack, what did you think about the performances, about our dialogue, about, just that general stuff, other than really kind of the flow and the storytelling of it? If you want to jump into that now too, that's just I got the most to say about.
Okay, folks, he basically did the entire Rob shtick, but without the enthusiasm and pizzazz. He did. It's like
I know. I'm shifting it over.
I never want to watch it again, but it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. All right. I'm like, oh, fine. Okay. Again, like I said, he had to undercut me a little bit. It wouldn't be right otherwise. No, I think Repulsion is the best way to sum up my opinion on this show. I don't know what show Rob watched. I think this is the equivalent of like a dime store, like Penthouse forum. It's like this, like article. It's just, it's a mess. The performances, I guess that's the only, I don't even want to say positive. It's the only non-negative thing I can say, because I think the actors are reading what's given to them. You can only do so much with trash. It's like, I cannot figure out like how any actor, like, I don't know. I guess Dean Norris burned through all that Breaking Bad cash, because I cannot imagine any actor saying, you know what? I want to be Uncle Daddy. Like, we haven't mentioned the fact that his character's name is literally Uncle Daddy.
That is one of my bullet points.
It's all the points. That's the only... Like, when Porg Knight suggested this, and I looked into it, I'm like, what? Dean Norris clause? And I looked into it, and I said, oh, no, it's that trashy show I saw the commercials for. And I'm like, who's Dean Norris in this? All I know is that it's Denise Hemphill. That's all I know. And I look, I'm like, what character does he play? And I'm like, his character's name is literally Uncle Daddy.
Uncle Daddy.
And I'm like, God damn it, we're going to have to do an entire episode on this now. Like, I don't have a choice. And that was the problem. As I got an episode and a half into this, and I said, I do not want to watch this. And I seriously started contemplating how I can lie my way through saying I watched the first 5 episodes. And I said, even though I obviously ignored that because I suffered through it. And the reason was, God damn it, his name is Uncle Daddy. And I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, that's so awful. It's fabulous. And that's like it's the ultimate hook to this stupid show, is that it's beyond meta. Like, it's so meta that like it borders on non-meta in that the show is like, that's a big problem with this show. It's so like leaning into how like it's a stupid premise. You have a bunch of white trash women who work in a nail salon, and they launder money for like a what would you even call it? Like a clinic, a medical clinic that gives out like, what is it, Percocet? No, Oxycontin, right?
Yeah, it's like a medical clinic as a front for a place that people can buy oxy basically, painkillers.
Yes, and like it's such a god, like a trashy premise. And the thing about though is that like you can do that and like lean into it. Like, you can do like a really lowbrow premise, but then elevate it with the writing, the characters, the performances by the actors. But like no, this show does like it is bottom of the barrel. It's like I don't want to say it's soap opera level because it's like soap operas aren't as trashy as this. They're not as raunchy, but like it's so lowest common denominator. It's like, and even the characters, like you have Uncle Daddy, who for some reason, I wish I was recording my audio or my commentary like Rob does, because as I was watching this, every single time they reference Dean Norris, I kept calling him Daddy Yankee, and I don't know why. I'm like, where's Daddy Yankee? And I'm like, oh crap, it's Uncle Daddy. The fake name I'm giving this character is somehow not half as bad as the real name of the character.
Where the fuck is the Daddy Yankee come from?
I don't know. I'm trying to make up a fake name that's worse than Uncle Daddy, and I can't. I am the kid. On top of being the connoisseur of context, the snack master, the Lego maniac, I'm also the master of the fake name. Like, I've even planned out my own fake alias. It has nothing to do with this, though, but my own fake name is Gus Taquitos. That is my alias I'm going to use when I eventually have to go on the lam one day. Gus Taquitos. I planned out my own alias. And yet, as I'm watching this, I could not think of a worse fake name than Uncle Daddy, and it pissed me off.
I love that passion, Zach. I think that might be the angriest you've gotten so far on Cinemodities, and that's great. Because you should be angry about it. Yes, a lot of this I would agree. You know, kind of the premise, kind of the structure of this show, and I'm not talking about storytelling yet. So when I say structure, I'm talking about those base elements. You know, who are the characters? When we get introduced to them, what do we know about them? Do we stick with those base elements forever, or do they actually develop? And, you know, that's what I agree with you with, that we don't really get any of that good stuff. And Uncle Daddy is a ridiculous fucking name. I think just with the people Zach and I are, whenever I find something I hate so much, it kind of blossoms into an ironic love for it. Uncle Daddy's great. You should call me Uncle Daddy, Zach.
I am angry, folks.
The one thing I do want to say to make Zach even angrier before I go off into my tangent about my main issue with the storytelling. It has not been released yet, but Zach and I have certainly recorded an episode of Cinemodities where we discuss Perfect Hair Forever. Do you remember we got Uncle Grandfather in that?
I want it on record. Like, I know the Perfect Hair Forever episode isn't coming out probably for another like 3 years.
Yes.
That's how far ahead we have things planned.
That's in the vault.
Yeah, you're not going to hear that probably until sometime in the late summer. But and that is one of my probably favorite episodes. Like Gremlins 2 is one of my favorite episodes. The Perfect Hair Forever episode is one of my favorites. I was very angry I wasn't angry, but like I was perturbed because I feel like it was just not. Like I remember during Perfect Hair Forever, I said, "This is just nonsense."
Even before that, you said that I lied to you and I broke the rules of the series. Man, we're giving a lot of that away.
Yes, we're breaking new ground against our own rules. We need to play the screeching goat sound in reverse.
Yes, I love it.
And during Perfect Hair Forever, I said this is just intentional nonsense. Like it's nothing. It's like, is that even a thing to have like a void of like a void of nothingness? It's inherent nonsense. And yet this is even worse than Perfect Hair. Perfect Hair Forever, even though it's nonsense, had a point to it. Like everything is like it's nonsensical, but everything is there for a reason. This is just nothing. It's the equivalent of like eating it's like you don't even. It's like not even a bag of potato. I'm speechless. It's like I think of like the worst off-brand, non-brand bag of potato chips.
Yes.
That it's just like it's not Lay's. It's like it's like the equivalent of like RC Cola.
There's no nutrition in it.
No, but imagine that. Like that might be Perfect Hair Forever. If Perfect Hair Forever is like no brand, off-brand potato chips, Claws is like eating the wrapper. There is literally no point to it. It's all it's going to do is harm you. There's nothing to gain from it. Like when you do drugs, you at least get a high. Like nothing good can come from eating an empty chips wrapper, an off-brand empty chips wrapper, and that's what Claws is. It's just, it makes me angry that this exists.
You through all of this, all of Zack's anger, he has gotten to the point at which I agree with him. I agree with him completely. And I think the point that you reached, how this show is like eating nothing, how it's like eating something pointless, it has no nutritional value, that is what I want to talk about with storytelling. Okay? Can I get into this? Are you ready?
Please.
This is kind of the big reason, well, you know, of course I would love any chance to expand the Dean Norris universe and get a chance to play more X-Files music in the background for Zack. But the other reason I really wanted to talk about this show on this podcast is because it is a current example of something that I have been talking about with peers, friends, colleagues for years. And I finally can give it to someone who isn't just, you know, going to look at me like they're drugged out and drool. Zack might do that, but, you know, at least he's going to have some opinion. And it's about storytelling, okay? Okay? Here we go. I want to start with a quote. Never done this on Cinemodities before, but I actually want to start with a quote. This is a really important quote. Okay, here we go. This is the start of the quote. I got into this business because I love stories. They comfort us, they inspire us, they create a context for how we perceive the world. But also you have to be careful, because if you spend a lot of time with stories, you start to believe that life is just stories. It's not. Life is life, and that's so sad because there's so little time. And what are we doing with it? That is a quote from Princess Carolyn, a character on BoJack Horseman, the Netflix show. Whether or not you like that show, I think that quote means a lot to me. Stories are great. I love stories, but life is not just stories. And I want to get into, well, what is a story and what makes life different from a story? And here we go. Structure. That is what I'm saying is the difference. Dramatic structure is a well-established thing. I don't want to get into the foundations of that theory. You can talk about different dramatic structures, but this is one of my first points. The dramatic structure of Claws is a Jackson Pollock painting. They just took the whole structure and threw it against the wall. They were like, fuck it. Like exposition. Okay, 2 minutes here. Rising action and a climax. First 3 minutes of the first episode. It's all over the place. And if you want to look for falling action or denouement, if you want to look for any conclusion, anything being wrapped up in a satisfying way, you're never going to find it. This show is just problem after problem after problem after issue after trial after tribulation for our main character. Everything comes and goes so fast that you never have any time to reflect on it. And this is where I agree with Zack, or call back to his point, that it's like eating something meaningless. Yes, in one episode, someone finds out that Polly was lying, and they find out she's a con man, and they gotta pay off all these damages to Uncle Daddy, and so she blackmails the person that found out she was a con man into getting the money. And that all happens in like 15 minutes of one episode. It's just, you know, the writers basically say, oh my God, I have all these cool ideas for things that could go wrong in this narrative we created. Let's put them right next to each other. Let's make everything go wrong at once. That's going to give an atmosphere of craziness, of uncertainty. It's going to be insane, you know, and that's the motif and the atmosphere the show wants to pull off. Niecy Nash is running all over the place. Everything's going wrong. But then, when they have to write conclusions, they realize that they've shoehorned in another problem so fast, they don't have anywhere to put a satisfying conclusion. And so they just have to think something up. They pull something out of thin air, and they're like, good, that's done. On to the next problem. Everything comes and goes so fast, you never have time to process it. And so when I bring this up, this is a big problem for me in storytelling. You need this structure. You need this falling action. You need the conclusion. That denouement is the most important of the whole fucking story. Without it, nothing else makes sense. And this show doesn't do it. Other shows don't do it. Weeds Weeds is one of the worst shows because it follows this exact same structure. No structure at all. And people have pushed back on me. People, when I've explained this, are like, no, Weeds was great, it was funny, blah, 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 blah. There was no problems with the stories. And the biggest thing I always heard that came close to a real argument was that this structure for a TV show is not bad because it mimics life. And I disagree with that completely. And this goes back to what I said at the start. Life is not just stories. We remember the things that happen in our life. Zach, do you remember what problem happened in episode 3 of Claws and how they resolved it?
I don't want to remember anything from Claws.
No, I don't remember it either. I don't remember it either, and it's not by choice. It's you don't remember it because the show doesn't need you to remember it. This show, just like Weeds, is a really exciting opening, a cliffhanger at the end, and vacuous space in the 50 minutes in between. And that's the story they choose to tell. That is not what life is. We remember our experiences. They shape us. I think to conclude all of this, what I want to say is for my perspective on storytelling comes from there's two different ways I view a story. You can have your characters moving through the story, or you can have the story moving around the characters. And this is the latter. Our characters are stationary points that never change, and events simply happen around them. That is not interesting to watch. End rant. End rant, Zach.
But you forgot the fact that they do a musical dance number to Lady Marmalade while the abusive step-parents are murdered. That's literally, that goes on for like 5 minutes.
It does. They do a whole montage. Itchy, yeah.
I cannot figure out. There's a handful of things I remember from this show. The fact that there's like I don't know, she's an Asian actress. Was she Vietnamese? I don't know.
Oh, the Virginia? They call her
Virginia,
Saigon.
yes.
They call
Virginia, and they constantly refer to her as China Doll.
What the hell, China Doll?
And I'm like, how on earth does that get past anybody? Like, I know this is a
and
phrase.
Saigon, they call her, Uncle Daddy calls her Saigon.
Now I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. Saigon here told me some story straight out of True Detective.
Season 1.
That too. I didn't even pick up on that. Like, how is that allowed? It's like, oh my god. And then I don't care. Like, you want to call someone based on their nationality, fine. But like, how on earth is that? Whatever. There's that. What else happens? A bunch of stuff happens.
Well, see, that's part of my whole problem with it. That yes, a near infinite amount of things happens, but they're all entirely inconsequential because the storytelling is garbage. I do have some things that I want to point out, not Dean Norris related, because of course Dean Norris is its own header. You know, the end of the second episode, they have the funeral for Roller. And the funeral is just like a rave, like it's a banger. Like people are dry humping, like there's strippers. You see so many different asses during this funeral. It's ridiculous.
I did forget about that. I forgot about that. I did make a mental note of that.
That stood out to me.
I couldn't believe that. It's like a parade almost. Yeah. It's like a parade, like a strip club parade.
Oh my God, Zach! I wasn't remembering the whole thing. So yeah, there's the parade before like the actual lowering of the casket into the ground, and then what I was talking about was after the casket's in the ground. It's like the I don't know, the after party of the funeral. That's really what it was. Like that had all the DJs and the strippers and the dry humping. But yeah, you're right. There was like a parade of strippers and guns leading to the gravesite.
It's worth noting that it's not just like a parade of people. It's like a legit parade with floats.
Yes, they have the banners and everything.
Okay, you know what, folks? This show is insane. Like, this is like one of those things where, like, I feel like if I would have watched this and pitched it to Rob, this would have been another like Men, Women, and Children, except like without me like idolizing it. Where I've been like, you're not gonna believe this show. There's this show that's on like cable prime time where at one point there is a stripper parade for a funeral with floats. Like, think about that. Like, I'm not sure if Rob saw this, but like in the version I have, I watched it on TNT.com. And at the end of every episode, they had like 2-3 minutes of like behind the scenes, like access to like the producers, like the writers.
No,
did you have that?
No. Well, so here's the thing. My Hulu is set up because so many different people use it. They set it up to autoplay, and so like you get through 5 seconds of the credits and the next episode comes on. So I might not have that. I also might have just missed it, but I did not see it for this recording.
Well,
either way.
because like they did, because sometimes with shows, like for the first episode, whether it be on TV or on demand, they'll have like after the pilot, they'll be like, "Oh, listen to the writers talk about the show," and usually it's a way of like for the writers, like, "Oh, what we want to do this season, blah 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 blah." So like it happened for the first season. I'm sorry, the first episode, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, fine." And then the second episode with the stripper parade float happens, and it's plural. It's not just one float; it's floats. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, "Oh, please!" At the end, let them have a writer's room. Like there's no way anybody. Because I think Rob would agree with me on this. Nothing in this show is played like campy or tongue in cheek. It is played 100% straight.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's to its detriment at multiple points, I believe.
Exactly. And so like I'm watching this, I'm like, there's no way this is being made. Like I was thinking like they'd be talking to the writers, because like during one of like the commercial breaks, they're like, oh, like one of the ad breaks, they're like, oh, like follow through past the credits and hear what the writers have to say. I'm like, okay. Like there's no way the writers the entire time aren't just like giggling nonstop and like elbowing each other over like the stupidity they somehow got on cable television. And I watched it, and they are like 100% straight faced. They're like, it's really important what's going on in the scene. When Virginia comes in, we don't know what's happening to her. She's terrified.
Virginia coming back beat up with this crazy story. She connected the dots. She's like,
and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is freaking garbage. And you're asking me to believe like any of this? I'm supposed to be wrapped up in the dramatic tension of it? I can't put enough quotes or quotations around the word dramatic tension, so I'm not even going to try. But like, I'm like, there's no way any human being, like there's people on set doing this, and nobody is saying, how on earth are we not doing this for laughs? Like, I want to see the script for episode 2, where there's stage notes that say, after the stripper float passes by. Like, I want to see the stage notes that say that.
Oh, that would be.
That's not even the worst thing in this. The worst thing in this, and I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's the 5-minute Lady Marmalade dance number that has nothing to do with the story. It's literally a dance number. It has like there's at no point in the show is it established they have dance and choreography moods like the. Like, apparently there's like a lesbian bouncer to the nail salon. That's a thing I never thought I'd say during my lifetime.
Well, she lip syncs in the first episode to the Tirana, I believe it's called. I don't know the artist.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These are not characters. These are just entities that have things to say.
Yes.
But like the only thing that's established during that scene is that they like music. And I get that. Like everybody likes music to a degree. But like there's a dance number that goes on for 5 minutes. Like there's at one point, I know Rob's gonna bring this up, I'm gonna bring it up now. There's like a musical pool water number with Dean Norris like laying on like a pool like what do you call it, a pool chair, like Caligula, and he's like, and you have like all these like male like water performers like doing a musical number. Again, never established why this is going on. For lack of a better word, it's just art. I don't think you could classify it as that, but for lack of a better word, that's what it is. And when that happened, I'm like, there's no way this show is going to top that level of this like nonsensical absurdity. Yet the 5-minute long Lady Marmalade dance number interlaced with scenes of Denise Hempfield's parents, abusive step-parents that locked them in a cage and made them eat dog food, because that's a thing apparently.
He had training today. I had to cancel it because he saw her old foster parents.
Which ones?
The bad ones.
The ones that made you eat out of dog bowls?
These people treated us like animals.
Being murdered interchanged with that, with her brother-in-law very reluctantly murdering them. It's like, what is going on? Am I losing my mind?
No, there were multiple points in your description, that whole description kind of the itchy gitchy ya 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 dance sequence, what it was set against to, why it led up to it. There were multiple points in the description Zach just gave that I was like, ooh, I want to step in to give an example of how bad this storytelling was. At multiple points in there. But at the end of it, I realized Zach basically described the events of the show as we learned them. That is how terrible the structure of this show is. So while I agree with everything Zach just said, how these things don't serve a point, I think the dance sequence at the end of episode 5 was like supposed to be the denouement and the tying together of a storyline, but it doesn't work at all because, of course, they're fucking like a cliffhanger right after it. But exactly that. We learn that she has abusive foster parents in like the middle of episode 3. Like one of the characters sees them on a magazine cover or something, and he starts freaking out.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
What's the matter, baby? You having one of your headaches?
No.
What's wrong, Dean?
No. Oh no. I thought the cruises were in Tallahassee. I thought they were in Tallahassee.
Shit. They must have moved. It's okay. It's okay. Dean, hands up,
Dean.
And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It's no good. It's no good. So, Zach, I agree with you. I guess I should get into something that I did. One of the things I said I did like about the show, the performances. So can we talk about some of that? You already started with Niecy Nash. You talked about how much you love Niecy Nash. I got to talk about how much I love Niecy Nash now. I have never seen Scream Queens. Is that what you called it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I've heard of it, but never saw it. But of course, I know Niecy Nash from probably her best-known role, as far as I'm concerned, as Rainisha Williams from Reno 911. I love Reno 911. I love her character on it, and I've loved Niecy Nash ever since. You ever seen that show, Zach?
Yeah, back in the day, but I was never too fond of it.
It's an older one. I mean, that was something that I got, when I was an undergrad, because I had heard of it, and I got all of it, and I watched it, and I fell in love with it. But yeah, I think that she's a great actress. She's a great performer. I think that, like Zach said before, these are just people with lines to say. She does the best that she can with what she has. I think that she's a great vocal performer. I think she's a great physical performer. I think she does the facial expressions really great. And we can't just shit on this show without saying that she actually does a good job, I feel. Because I got mad respect for Niecy Nash. Okay. And apparently Zach does as well. I didn't know. I mentioned this to Zach, I think, before, even like days before this recording. Carrie Preston. Carrie Preston in Claws plays Polly. Polly's the white Southerner, the skinny white Southerner who gets out of prison with the red hair. Carrie Preston, I've known about for years. Carrie Preston, I'm in love with Carrie Preston. She is great. Very much as like Amelia Clark is one of the worst people in the world because she has no idea how to control her voice. Carrie Preston is one of the greatest people in the world because she can control her voice. I think her performance in this show is spectacular. I think that her changing voices because she's a con artist is corny and it's a cliche, but she does it great. I know I am a little biased because I've loved her before this, but what do you think, Zach? That's something I did want to get your opinion on. Did Polly stand out to you from these 5 episodes at all?
Like, one thing that's worth noting about this stupid show is that the characters are all unique. Like, like that's one thing I gotta say. Like, you watch a lot of TV shows and the characters just blur together. It's like, oh, it's person. Oh, it's another person.
Guy McFace.
Like, yes, that's one thing I've got to say about this. Like, okay, there is one Guy McFace. Because you have Denise Hemphill, you have the redhead, you have the blonde, you have Virginia. You have the lesbian bouncer.
Quiet Anne. That's her name. Quiet Anne.
Sure, whatever. You have Roller. You have the doctor who's like obsessed with his ex-wife.
Yeah.
There you have Dean Norris. You have Dean Norris's like crackhead wife. That's a thing, by the way. But then you have like Dean Norris. I still cannot figure out. We'll get back to Carrie Preston.
Yes,
but I don't have an opinion on her. She's fine. She's at least she's given something to do because like toward the end of what we watch, she has a little bit more of importance because she's letting on the whole like murder with the douchebag man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly cannot remember his name. Like as I'm watching this, they say his name was what? Roland?
Roller. Like literally, roller blade, roller.
It's even worse. Like as I was watching this, I could not much like I kept calling Dean Norris Daddy Yankee. As I was watching, I kept calling him Roland because I'm like he's a douchebag, like a douchebag man. That's what I just call him that. I call these characters by their description in the script. It's like Denise Hemphill is a protagonist lady, lesbian bouncer, white trash, big boob blonde bimbo. Asian character. Dean Norris is a crime kingpin. I'm not sure about. Okay, I'm jumping all over the place.
Yeah, we know this.
Okay, going back to Dean Norris is Roller and Guy McFace. They say like he treats them as if they're sons, but they're nephews. They're his nephews.
So this is what I gathered because. Now, I will answer this question. I won't defer it because I think this is about the show and not about Dean Norris. I'm trying to save all my Dean Norris stuff for one point. But this is what I got. This is just what I surmised. I didn't read this at all. Bryce, who I think is Guy McFace, I think that's who you're referring to as Guy McFace.
That is Guy McFace.
So Bryce is his actual son in the show, like Dean Norris is his father, and Roller is his nephew. And when Roller's actual father died, he was like, Dean Norris, take care of Roller. So he's Roller's uncle and Bryce's daddy. Is your mind blown? I heard the most restrained sigh I've ever heard from Zack, and I don't know what that means.
I hate this show so goddamn much. I hate it. I legitimately I understand. Like I've always understood the phrase like hate watching something. Like I remember I forget what show. Like it was like a True Detective season 2. Like people are like I'm gonna hate. Like people watching the first 2 episodes are like I hate this show, but I'm still watching it. And I'm like who on earth would watch a show if they dislike it? And at the end of episode 5, I'm like Roller is still alive, and I'm like. I want to see how much worse this show can go. Like, I don't believe the Lady Marmalade 5-minute dance number is the worst the show is. I firmly believe that it crescendos at least one more time in those latter 5 episodes. Yet, I do not hate myself enough to subject myself to this. Like, I watched all of Perfect Hair Forever, and I did not hate myself. I watched this, and the worst part of it was, like, as I watched Perfect Hair Forever, like, I'm sitting in my chair, I almost, like, dozed off a couple of times, because I'm like, this is just, like, it's, like, weirdly hypnotic. Like, but, like, in a way that, like, makes you, like, drowsy. But that was Perfect Hair Forever. For Claws, I'm like, the sad thing is, like, I'm intrigued. Like, this is like watching white trash theater. Like, that's what this is. Like, I'm ashamed that I watched as much of this as I did. Yet, like, I could not look away because of just how I fixated I was on this. Like, this is, like, much like how I said when it came to Men, Women, and Children, Rob's suffering would be legendary. This was that for me. I'm like I know I'm jumping the gun here, but this is like a Cinemoddity. This is truly that. Like, this is just bizarre, and I never want to watch it again. Like, it's up there. It's not Hall of Fame. It's not Men, Women, and Children.
Yeah.
But it is close. Like, if Men, Women, Children's in the Pantheon, this is like tapping against the door. Like, Men, Women, and Children's like, is there somebody here? Should I go check the door? Should I let them in? I hate this so
well, hats off. I gotta say hats off to Porg Knight once again for bringing this to us. This is great. This is the passion I love to hear from people. I think also somewhere in there, because Zach's had a lot. Somewhere in there is a good place for a merchant.
to get back on topic. I was not thrilled with Carrie Preston, yet I did not dislike her that much either.
Okay, we need a real quick except for Rob merchandise plug. You said who would watch something even if they don't like it? Except for Rob. I hated weeds and I suffered through all of that. I do that regularly. The other thing I want to get in here, if you want to put it in the episode, because I always love getting reactions from it. It's another hottest take. Season 2 of True Detective was better than Season 1. Now we can go back to...
What?
Yeah, we talked about this at my dinner. We should talk about that on Cinemodities.
You
I wholeheartedly believe that. I am.
What is wrong with you?
I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't want to get into all that now, because I can talk about that for hours as well. But I wanted to say...
What is wrong with you? You're a bad person. You've did some bad things over your lifetime, but that might be genuinely the worst.
Can I finish? Can I talk about Carrie Preston one more time? Okay, the only other thing I didn't get to say about Carrie Preston, instead of how much I love her and how she's the best thing about the show, probably, she had the one scene in the first 5 episodes that we watched where I actually laughed hysterically, and it was in the first episode. They all go to some party, all the women of the salon go to some party, and they don't think that Polly's going to go with them. But Polly shows up later, in a full ball gown and a tiara or something. And after the party, we get a scene. I don't really remember how we get into this scene, but what I do remember is that Polly is holding a 6-pack of beer, sitting in the cooler at the grocery store in a full ball gown and tiara, crying her eyes out.
Mommy, what's the old lady crying for?
Huh? What's wrong, Polycotto?
Oh, hey, girl. Nothing. I wasn't going to say anything.
And it is hilarious. There's a little kid, and there's why is that old lady crying? That was the one thing I was like, that is just, it was just spot on funny. The reveal, the timing, Carrie Preston doing her over the top sobbing, which I don't know if you've ever seen her act in anything else when she has to cry. It's very over the top. She plays Ben Linus's mother in Lost. In the one episode you get to see Ben Linus's mother. She dies in childbirth. Interesting fact. Here we go. Carrie Preston is Ben Linus's mother. Ben Linus is played by Michael Emerson, who is married to Carrie Preston. So Carrie Preston in Lost gave birth to her husband. Isn't that cool?
Sure.
Okay, next one's quick, Zach. And it's I think the one you've come to call the lesbian bouncer. Is that what you called it? Her?
The lesbian nail salon bouncer.
Yes. Quiet Anne, her name in the show is. This was the first reaction this show got out of me. When I saw this character come on screen, I said, holy shit, is that Carla? And it is. This is Carla from Scrubs in the fucking polar opposite role. I was actually really blown away just to have someone who was kind of so well known for her, main role in Scrubs entirely change her look, entirely change her performance, entirely change literally everything. Of course, that's what actors and actresses do. But I, having not seen her in anything but Scrubs and Law and Order, I was very surprised to see her in this type of a role. I don't know, you ever watch Scrubs, Zach? Did you notice that it was Carla?
No, I never liked Scrubs.
Okay, yeah, Scrubs isn't one of my favorites, but I've seen enough of it to pick out Carla. The last performance that I want to talk about prior to our wondrous Mr. Norris is one of my favorite actors, Harold Perrineau. Harold Perrineau's in this. Harold Perrineau plays Dean, Niecy Nash's autistic brother, a younger brother, I think. He's the one who wants to become a bodybuilder, the autistic guy that wants to become a bodybuilder, yes. And he talks about Arnold
we didn't even talk about that
subplot.
We didn't even talk about that subplot. The after-school special that she has a autistic brother she has to take care of.
Yeah, she's got an autistic brother played by Harold Perrineau. I love Harold Perrineau. He's a great actor. When they revealed that he was autistic, I was kind of like, oh man, I not that it's bad he's playing an autistic person, but I think that kind of limits him. He is in a main role, but he's not in kind of a role that's gonna let him do the things that I've seen previously. Or maybe he does. Maybe the show becomes about, autism empowerment or something like that. I will tell you, he gets Virginia pregnant in the second half of the first season. Zach is blown away.
I'm reading on Wikipedia what happens in season 2. I'm getting it's like I don't know. Like, this is, oh my god. Yeah, apparently Uncle Daddy is the uncle to both Guy McFace and Roland.
Oh, he's not the father of Guy McFace?
No, it says he's Bryce and Roller's uncle.
So my brain was literally rationalizing the show, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Whoa, okay. That's a... I honestly believe that I heard that in the show. This is a new level of rock bottom.
Once again, Rob's craziness is more intelligent than the writers of the show.
Oh, man.
Rob, his drug, alcohol-fueled stupor, has outthought the show's writers, who are probably being paid six-figure salaries to think of things.
Once again, thank you, Pork Knight.
Once again, thank you, Pork Knight.
Okay, well, I want to finish up real quick, because I know that whenever Zach can go for hours. I know I'm getting that sense now. I love Harold Perrineau. The role grew on me. This autistic role. He does this thing. I don't know. He does it a few times where he looks at Niecy Nash and he like takes his thumb and index finger and puts it real close to his eye, like he creates a monocle out of his own fingers. Did you ever notice that? And he like looks at Niecy Nash real close and he's like, "You look different. Are you okay?" or something like that. Did you pick up on that?
Maybe, but I don't think so.
I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if that was written for the autistic character prior to Harold Perrineau, if that's something he added to the character, but I thought that was actually to like motivate some of their dialogue and some of their relationship, that he kind of had emotion to signify that he was looking at her a little closer than usual. I thought that was interesting. All right. Forgive me, Zach.
I might be having a stroke, but I'm reading on Wikipedia that the Denise Hempfield's autistic brother gets Virginia pregnant.
Yeah, didn't I said that like 3 minutes ago.
And then I thought I was having a stroke and I heard that. That's legitimately a plot point?
Yeah. When I told you, like, I read what happens, and that she gets pregnant. She fucks him. She fucks the autistic dude. That's what happens. That's the plot synopsis in, I don't know, episode 7 or something.
Oh my god. Oh my god, this show somehow got worse.
Okay, really? Now, the one other thing I want to talk about, Harold Perrineau.
God.
He was Link in the Matrix movies. That's where most people know him, I think. He's Augustus Hill in Oz, the HBO show, the narrator. Guy in the wheelchair in the prison. He's a great character in that one. But of course, I would be remiss if I did not bring it up. Harold Perrineau plays Michael in Lost. Now, Zach, I don't think you've seen Lost. I don't think you've seen a lot of Lost, if you've seen any. Is that correct?
I can't believe that's a plot point.
Okay, I'm going to take that as Zach does not.
Oh my good lord.
Zach is using the battery acid spritz bottle on his own eyes right now, and that's not a good sign. But I want to do this. This is going to be the first time I got to do this on the podcast. Michael, Harold Perrineau, even though great actor, Michael is one of the worst characters on Lost. If you have ever watched Lost, you know that Harold Perrineau only has one line in the entirety of the second season. I'm going to do my best impression of it right now, and my neighbors are probably going to knock on the door because it's going to be loud. Here we go. Harold Perrineau's Lost Season 2 portrayal of Michael. Walt! That's it. You want to give it a shot, Zach? You want to try it? You want to give? I'm tempted to do it again if you don't do it. You want to do it?
Walt! 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 Don't you ever say his name again, ever!
Imagine writing a show where the autistic brother... Oh my god.
Oh, that was great.
We can only hope that's a musical number. Maybe that can redeem it a little bit.
What song? Wait, hold on. Are you saying it should be a musical number during the conception or during the reveal that she's pregnant? Because those are two very different events. Because I don't know if we get to see them actually have sex on screen.
Considering how raunchy this show is, I would. I would imagine it's probably like what song do you play during that? You're the musician here. If you're trying to compose a soundtrack to this, what music do you put to an autistic man having sex with a? Is she a prostitute at one point?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. 100%.
What kind of music do you compose? Like, do you?
So you're saying what would the playlist or what would the song be for the autistic person and the prostitute having sex?
Yes.
Just hit shuffle on my iPod.
No.
Anything that comes up from me will be good.
Like how the murder of the abusive step-parents had Lady Marmalade. We need a very specific 70s era pop song.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's gonna... Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper.
That's a little too spot on, I think.
Well, see, I feel like I have to see it. Because I'm imagining it that the prostitute seduces Dean. Like, I don't think Dean is sexual at all from what we've already watched. So it would have to be like her seducing him. Like it wouldn't. No. Girls Just Want to Have Fun. That's not raunchy enough. I think I got it. Okay, throw it at me.
The Bee Gees. How Deep Is Your Love?
How deep is your love?
Okay. That's a good one. I like that. I was gonna say Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard.
Oh.
That was gonna be my next one.
Definitely. You beat me. Yup. That's it. I'm almost certain now that if we find that scene, that's the soundtrack. Like I am willing to put money down. Like, what is a more raunchy song than that? That's so like.
I know that one's like overtly raunchy. Like that's the one that people like know is super raunchy. Like I know of a few songs that people like, 90s songs that they don't sound raunchy, but they have raunchy undertones or like meaning behind the lyrics. But we want something that hits you in the face.
Yes, it's commercial. It's raunchy and it fits the mood. You know what? You did it. You did it. You beat me. See, between that and the Uncle Daddy explanation, you could be a writer for Claws. Okay, we haven't talked about it yet, but I am certain Rob has invented time travel. At some point during his academic research, Rob has invented time travel, forgot about saving Kennedy, stopping 9/11. Rob went back in time to the mid-2000s and created an MTV2 show called Wonder Showsin'. That's
one of my greatest accomplishments.
Yes, he is a writer of Wonder Showsin'. He doesn't know it yet, though, but he will be. And then after doing that, said, you know what? That was not my greatest work. I need to top it. And then went 10 years into the future, maybe 12, and wrote Claws.
Wasn't there something else we talked about that I did in the past? It wasn't a movie. It was like garlic mustard sauce jars that you texted me pictures of. I said, and I was like, those labels are great. And Zach was like, you wrote an MTV2 show. And you did some canned goods.
Yes, I at the food pantry that I volunteer at, we got donations. I think I had the pictures of it somewhere. One of them was like "Shut the fuck up," like mustard sauce. Yeah. Another one was like "F you, eat this."
This gross gooey shit is delicious. That was one of the taglines.
Yes, I sent it to Rob and said, apparently on top of writing Wonder Showsin', you also created jarred condiments at some point in your life. You just aren't aware of it yet.
So this, when Zach told me that, this was the first time I think I started to believe Zach and this theory that he's having and explaining with us right now. Because for a few years now, I've wanted to kind of deploy basically the idea of, you know how you can like screw the bottom of a deodorant or a glue stick and it like pushes it up? And you like get more out of the top of the tube when you screw the thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Of course.
Yeah, put that on peanut butter. Put that on a jar of peanut butter. Like, I've wanted to do that. I think that's a great idea. I think some GIF or some company should do that. But if I did it, and this is documented, I think someone we might talk to on this podcast one day can confirm this. My label for it would have been, just keep turning the cork and shove it into your fucking mouth and buy another one. Like, that was going to be my sales pitch. Like, eat it fast, eat it right, just fuck it, like, into your face now. Like, cause that's the thing. Can
you repeat that again? Just F it into your face. Like, you are.
I got to do the whole pitch. I can't do parts of the pitch. Okay. Keep turning the cork and shove it into your face and buy another one. Turn it, fuck it right into your face. I think I messed it up that time. But that's the idea. It's just gluttony. Why would you need a screw on any food item other than to eat it faster? It would just be gluttony, and I'm willing to take advantage of that. And
I like the idea of using
totally display that in the market.
I like the idea of using that expletive as a way of expressing gluttony. Extreme blank in your face of food. I've never heard that before. Oh man, that breaking new ground sound. That's like 4 times now this episode.
I think the last time I ever mentioned something close to that was when we did our Fantastic Planet episode. And I talked about eating popcorn so fast that you can't breathe and you just die. That's kind of what I'm thinking this peanut butter would be used for. Like, you could literally just, turn. I'm doing a hand motion. The audience can't see it, but you could like just shove the jar of peanut butter into your mouth and keep turning. Like, no one's gonna stop you if that exists. Nothing can stop you.
What has my life become?
Yes, this is the second installment of Rob's obsession with eating a lot of food really quickly.
Yes. Eating food in unconventional ways.
Eating food in efficient ways, I would say, because it was inhaling popcorn. So you'd have to pick it up. You just literally had to breathe, and the popcorn would be in you. And this is, just you got to do crank. I mean, how do you eat peanut butter now? I got to take a whole spoon. You got a lid and a jar. Get rid of the spoon. I guess I could, eat peanut butter with my fingers, but I'd much rather fuck it into my mouth.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Are we still talking about this? At this point, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, I think the only thing we have left is, the only thing I have left is, other than our important questions, is Dean Norris. We have to talk about Dean Norris. That's why we're doing this, right? This is our addendum to the Dean Norris series.
Addendum to misery.
Yes, the addendum to misery of misery. It's like misery with a side of misery. Okay, first bullet point I have about Dean Norris. I really did laugh at him and his performance during this show in the first 5 episodes. Everything after the first episode, so episodes 2 through 5, I think every single time we see him, he is either crying or screaming about his baby boy, because Roller died. And it just gets unbelievably comical at a certain point, I think.
These are my 2 baby boys, right here. And I love them both, I do.
Like, there's, in like episode 4, we get a shot where Niecy Nash calls Dean Norris, and when he picks up the phone, we get to see a shot of his back right shoulder, and someone is tattooing Roller's face and the words "my baby boy" on him. And I'm like, he's not gonna say it this time. He's just like, that's the gag that they're doing. He's finally getting a tattoo. But literally the first thing he says on the phone to Niecy Nash is, "You better be calling to talk about my baby boy."
Wonder my baby boy liked you so much.
And so, the stripper funeral we talked about, he cuts off the music and waves strippers away to get up drunkenly on the microphone and basically scream, "My baby boy! My baby."
Hey kids, this is Rob. That didn't happen in Claws. What actually happened was something Zack and I totally forgot about. Dean Norris gets his own musical number.
Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods.
There's a Dean Norris thing. Okay, I just remembered this. This is the point where I think I was on the verge of losing my sanity. They are at, I don't know if it's his house, but they're somewhere. And I guess it's the funeral. He starts, like he says something. The crackhead wife punches him in the face. Then he punches the crackhead wife in the face in return.
So sorry. I promise his daddy. I'll take care of him. Now they take my baby boy. They took my baby boy.
Come here, baby.
They took my baby boy. I'm sorry, baby. Baby, I'm sorry. They took my baby boy. They took my baby boy.
Oh, baby.
They took my baby boy.
That was my squeezing arm. They took my squeezing arm. Why my squeezing arm? Ah!
And then that happens, and I'm like, what is going on? And then he goes outside and starts punching the car. Yes. Not punching the window. He just like repeatedly punches the car for like a solid like 10 seconds. And I'm like, I am like once again, am I having a stroke? Because there's no way this is real.
What does Dean Norris say when a character comes up to him to stop him from punching the car? Character's like, Uncle Daddy, what are you doing? Do you know what Dean Norris says? My baby boy.
And now at that moment, with Dean Norris, like we've talked, like obviously this is the true end of this series. I don't care what Pork Knight finds next. No.
Pork Knight, everybody gets one.
Everybody gets one. You blew your one on Claws.
No, you did the right thing getting Claws into this mix.
No, next, everybody gets one request. You blew it, Pork Knight. But as I was watching this, like we've discussed Dean Norris in his acting style. Like during Sophia the First, we're like, maybe Dean Norris is not the easiest actor to direct. Mm-hmm. Like you look at some of his choices from Men, Women, and Children to Breaking Bad, where he's definitely the most competent he is out of all these films.
Oh, by far.
As I am watching this, and this, like Rob said, like what is the, like, you have like actors that like he's obviously, it's a caricature on a drug crime kingpin. Mm-hmm. Yet as you're watching this, I think it's even beyond, like, is there a term for beyond caricature? Because like lampooning, like when you lampoon
that's
something,
what I was gonna say, lampoon.
But like if you're lampooning something, you're aware of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like this is like beyond, like not even parody, like it's satire. But like as I'm watching this with the whole Dean Norris series in the back of my mind, I'm like, is Dean Norris a horrible actor that is just, they're telling him we want you to be a like overzealous drug kingpin? Or is he looking at this really crappy, shoddily written script and character and saying, this is garbage, I'm going to lean in and I'm going to perform and bring this character to life to the same capacity or the same level of quality that they wrote these lines? That if they're going to give me garbage, I'm going to give them a garbage performance. Is Dean Norris that self-aware?
That's what I hope for in this performance, because there's some stuff we get from him that is so over the top, so hammy, so I don't know. I don't want to say poorly delivered. I don't want to offend Mr. Norris. I think it's established we respect him, but this show made me ask the same exact question you have just posed to me, Zach. Because, we don't get Dean Norris right away, even in the first episode. I think he pops up, 30 minutes into it or something. We get the whole development of the nail salon first, and Roller even. And one of the first lines, and, as I was watching this and kind of realizing, starting to formulate my thoughts and my negative opinions for this show, I had the same thought. I was like, what is Dean Norris going to do in here? And one of the first lines we get from Dean Norris is, I think verbatim, "Yes, I do love that little dick." Like, he says that. He says, "Yes, I do love that little dick" in the first episode, talking about his, skinny sex slave. And I was like...
I forgot about that.
I was I don't know. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I honestly don't know what is happening.
Okay, I forgot about the sex slave, and I forgot about that line, but now I remember. Oh my! I blocked so much of this out.
Yeah,
I really did.
Roller says to him, Uncle Daddy says something to the sex slave, to go get him, something, or bring Niecy Nash to him, or something like that. And then Roller's like, "You sure do love that little dick, don't you, Uncle Daddy?" And Dean Norris is like, "I do love that little dick." That's it. That's what we get in the first episode.
Hiya, boy! You gonna get some big old hootenannies, ain't ya? Don't you touch that little bitty dicky do of yours, boy! I love that little dick. I know you do.
I think it's fair to say that any act, I don't know. I have to assume that Dean Norris is running out of offers, and this was the only steady gig he could find. And I can't imagine any actor I can't imagine any actor taking this unless it was last resort. I really can't. This is for almost everybody involved with this show, it's embarrassing. I think on top of the fact that this is raunchy, it's filth, it's vacuous. I think it's embarrassing. Whether it be the writers, whether it be the story, the acting, so I said yes, Denise Hemphill is fine, is protagonist, but there's a point where the white trash Guy McFace wife is he's stressed out, and she's like, "Honey, would you like my asshole and some Percocet?" And I'm like, "What?"
This is my brother, okay, and I need to help find who did this.
I'll let you put it in my butt.
Jen.
I mean it. Anal, once a week. I will make you fried peanut butter and jelly also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm and they're you know what the worst part is? They're like a carnivore, or the Fisherman's Wharf, or the Sponge Docks. It's if they were in bed saying that, it'd be oh, I get it. They're in a public forum, and that conversation does not. I'm what is going on? It's and that's not even the worst. I am a conservative person. But when it comes to entertainment and media and the arts, I am rather liberal. You can get away with anything as long as it's tastefully done or it makes sense to what you're trying to do. I'm on board with it. There is a scene in this, and just to show you how naive I am, where Denise Hemphill and Virginia are going to a gas station to help corroborate Virginia's claim that she was abducted. Never mind the whole scene with the pigs, in the peanut butter. That's something a third grader would write, in ad libs, when they're bored. But that's neither here nor there. And they go to the gas station to convince the guy. And Denise Hemphill's putting bills on the counter. She's like, "Would Mr. Lincoln help you forget?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "How about Lincoln Square?" And he's like, "No." And because at one point, when they're driving there, the two of them, she says something, Virginia, and Denise Hemphill's like, "How are you going to do that? You have nothing to your name." And so, fast forward again back to the thing. After the money doesn't work on the gas station attendant, Virginia turns around to the gas station attendant and says, "Would a Hummer do it?"
Okay, would this jog your memory though? Particularly if a cop came in asking.
Sure would not.
How you like me now, Jeff?
Not much better.
What if we add a Hummer? Oh, this week. I got this.
Watch the front counter.
Hurry up.
And in the split second between him agreeing and her walking off with him, I say, "How could she afford a Hummer? She has nothing. She can't afford a car like that." And then as she's walking with him to the bathroom, I said, "Oh, that sort of Hummer." And and at that moment, I realized Like again, I had not gotten to the Lady Marmalade yet, or the Dean Norris gay water musical number. That just shows you the state of mind I'm coming into this with.
Yes. Okay. That's great. I didn't even think about that to ask you that, because that. Man, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. That's fucking hilarious, Zach. So yeah, anybody who's listening, if you catch Zach out on the street or something, ask him if he wants a Hummer. He might say yes really quickly, and see where that goes. Oh man, okay. But Zach mentioned it. Zach mentioned it just now. Zach mentioned it a long time ago. I mentioned it all the way at the start. I said in this show, we get my favorite Dean Norris scene out of anything ever, and it is the aforementioned water dance scene. Is that what we're calling it? Water dancers? Like Zach described it, Dean Norris lays out on a lawn chair like Caligula. That's a great way to describe it. And he doesn't conduct, but he waves his hand kind of in enjoyment with the water dancers doing, their synchronized swimming, and to the music. But it is not made clear that he can hear the music. The production of the show.
Yes. I swear, it's a non sequitur of a scene. I think if the writers of this show and showrunners aren't incompetent, the only other explanation for that scene, along with the show as a whole, is how much can we get away with until they tell us no? I want to see the notes that this show gets every script they submit to the network. I want to see what they cross off and what they tell them they can and cannot do. Because if this is what gets past the executives, I can't fathom what gets told, no, you can't do this, or probably better not.
Yep.
And that whole musical number in the water, that's with his sex slave Gimp, right?
Yeah, he's the only one in a blue outfit. I think there's 4 men in pink, and the sex slave that we have come to know and love. Well, actually, no, I think he has 3 lines in the whole first 5 episodes. He's in blue, so he's like the centerpiece of the performance. So here's what I think, Zach. I think that this scene was directly from Dean Norris himself. I think this was part of Dean Norris' contract when he signed on to the show to do this. He was like, I want a scene. He probably didn't even tell the people what he wanted yet, but he wanted a scene which is basically him just being king. And that's what he gets. That's what he gets in this one, and that's why I love it. So I came into this even before, watching any of it, knowing anything about it. I came into this first priority in my head. What am I going to learn about Dean Norris, and how does that fit into the Dean Norris universe? And when I get a scene of Dean Norris just being king on top, enjoying his water performers out in the sun, in his robe, laying out on the lawn chair, great. I loved it. Zach. It was awesome. My favorite scene, favorite Dean Norris scene out of everything, I would say. I think that is a great addition to his canon. That's really where I want to go next, Zach. Can I tell you that I want to talk about some Dean Norris canon?
Oh, dear.
Because, you know what I realized when I listened to our Sophia the First episode? I don't think I talked about Total Recall and the Martian days in the big tie-in at the end.
Oh, boy.
What's wrong with me, right? Zach has a list. He's asking me. He's looking like he's gonna get the list of things that's wrong with me right now. But no, I gotta fill it in. So here's the one thing I want to say. Well, cue the X-Files music. It hasn't started already. I don't know. I can't. Zach's the only one can hear it apparently. Claus is incomplete. As far as I know, Uncle Daddy does not die at the end of season 1. Uncle Daddy is going to be a main character in season 2, and for the foreseeable lifetime of this show. So I think it's a little tough. We really don't know where this is going to kind of work in, because we don't know how it's going to end up. But that's not to say I don't have an interesting theory for you. And so here we go. When I watched this is the feeling I got. And I'm serious, Zach. This is the idea that sprouted in my head as I binged these 5 episodes, thinking of how Dean Norris, how these events fit into his life. I think this comes directly after Men, Women, and Children. And I don't think it just comes directly after. I think that we have a lot of the same characters in this from Men, Women, and Children. So hear me out. So remember, just because, I'm just for our audience, and I know Zach keeps up on this, he's got his whole flowchart probably planned out. The beginning of all of this was the Book of Henry. Book of Henry abused his daughter. That was no good. He was doing some bad things, and he tried to find a better place for himself in the SWAT team, tried to do right by his son at the end of Men, Women, and Children, that type of stuff. That's where we left off. He wants to improve his family. But this is what I'm saying. Old habits die hard. Dean Norris isn't okay with just having this existence, just being the family man of Kent Mooney. So, of course, he has to build up a new kind of criminal empire. He doesn't think that it's worth getting into the whole police academy and police commissioner deal like in Book of Henry, so he does the mob boss route. And the moniker he chooses for himself is Uncle Daddy. Now, here we go, I got more. So Kent Mooney turns into Uncle Daddy. Ansel Elgort, Kent Mooney's son in Men, Women, and Children. Remember he was addicted to that MMORPG? He goes to rehab for that MMORPG, and he's Bryce. He's Guy McFace, who I previously thought was the son of Uncle Daddy, which made this make more sense. Virginia, the prostitute wannabe, of course, that is the cheerleader who tried out for the talent show in Men, Women, and Children after getting plastic surgery. Why wouldn't that character get plastic surgery, right? With how superficial she was? And lastly, since I think Zach has literally fallen asleep, Quiet Anne, the lesbian bouncer, that's Adam Sandler. What do you think?
Makes as much sense as any of the other nonsense does.
Okay, well, and then, so that's where I think the connection is. However this ends, however Dean Norris's role in Claws ends up, I think it is going to explain how he gets to Mars. Because remember, we talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger being mentioned in this show quite a bit. And I think that, after having gone through Terminator 2, Judgment Day, as SWAT team leader, having an encounter with Arnold, seeing what Arnold has done for Roller, seeing what Arnold has done for Dean, even though I don't think they share a scene, Dean and Dean Norris, Dean and Uncle Daddy, that motivates him to want to meet up with Arnold, so he goes to Mars, and that's kind of now that nice little bow on the Dean Norris series. I can sleep again, knowing that I got Total Recall back in there. Thank you, Zach. Thank you.
No, thank Porg Knight.
Yes. Has the X-Files music subsided? Because I've been thinking,
imagine so.
If the X-Files music keeps playing after I'm done talking, I need to keep talking, right?
No, it's definitely it stopped.
Okay, well, Zach, that brings me to really the end of the Dean Norris series, other than our important questions. I know we don't do it a lot, and we've kind of moved away from it. But late night movie? Would you show anybody any episode of this show? Would this ever cross your radar, or would this always be a stay away from completely type of thing for you? Because that's what I'm getting, but I'm not sure. Like, would you put this suffering on others? That's the question, I guess.
It's not. It's horrible. Like, it's like legitimate. Like it's inexplicable.
So now that you have this tool in your arsenal, would you use it on somebody?
It's kind of like an atomic weapon. Like, I have it. Yeah, I never want to have to reach the point where I have to pull it out. I never want to turn the flip the or push the red button. I really do. Like, it's there. I need it just in case I ever have to. But it's I'll never use it unless it's an absolute last resort.
I have to agree. I would never put this on late at night. I don't think I would ever pitch this. I don't think I would ever bring this up in conversation, like casually. Unless we were on the topic of things we really, really hated. But I will say, though, that if I ever have another encounter with this show, it will be in discussing it as yet another example, right alongside Weeds, as some of the worst storytelling in the history of humanity. Okay, snack? Is that where we want to go next?
Oh, I already told you my snack. It's off-brand, no-brand, empty potato chip bag.
That's right. Yes.
That's what you eat during this.
Yes. Okay. So like the actual wrapper.
Like the wrapper is like made of like the worst chemicals possible. So like 10 years later, you get cancer from it.
What are the Sun Chips bags made of? You know, the Sun Chips, they're like the loudest bags in existence. Like, are those bad?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's like more like a Mylar. Like I don't think that's.
Okay. We would need something like just straight up unenjoyable.
Like, you need something that's like, it's not, it's like, it looks, and it's like, if you like, let's say you're like walking like down the street and someone's like, eat that empty chip bag. Like, you wouldn't think like that's like, it's not, you don't want to do it, But like you figure, compared to other things that someone might okay, somebody has a gun in your head, like eat this. And you're like, this is like if my life's going to come to an end, and this is the only thing that's good, and this is the only thing that's going to prevent that. Not the worst thing, except you realize like after you do it, it's like 10 years later you get cancer and you die from it. That's how bad it was. Like both choices result in death. You're just not aware of it when you make the decision. Okay, like on Rotten Tomatoes, you look up someone's review if something has like a 2-line blurb. This would be my blurb for Claws. You don't know it yet, but both choices result in death.
I like it. What would you say about like straight up aluminum foil? Because if you eat aluminum foil, you can't digest it too well. It cuts up your insides. Would that be a success, like okay substitute if you don't have the chip bag? If you just had like foil lying around your house, you ball some of it up and take a bite. Was that not long term enough? Because that's like in the week you're hurting.
I don't know. Like that's good. That's very good. But at the same time, though, I don't know. I feel like eating tinfoil. Something about that where it's like it's too like that's gonna be bad for you. Like that's kind of like somebody's telling you to watch like a I'm not sure like a UA Bowl film where it's like, oh, you have to watch this like really bad thing. Like if somebody said eat tinfoil, you're like, I don't want to do that. That sounds awful. But if someone's like eat this like off-brand potato chip bag, like that's something where it's like, okay, it's not gonna hurt. Like, you think it's like innocent enough. You're like, this isn't pleasant, but it's not the end of the world. But like eating tinfoil ball, that's going to hurt. Like that's gonna scrape your esophagus. It's gonna like destroy your stomach. And then if you actually do like pass it, it's gonna destroy your bowels. It's like that's something like you know what you're getting into with that. Like when you watch Claws, you're like, oh, it's like a stupid little crime thing. And it's not until as you're like getting through it, you realize this is a horrible mistake.
Okay. I like that. That's
it's too blatant. Like tinfoil is too blatant.
Yeah.
It has to be a little bit more like veiled.
Okay. Yeah, I like the I like that the thing you eat is like a wrapper of a food product then.
Yes.
I think that's a good, something that could pass off as edible. Like you could basically get someone to believe was edible. Just because it could be possible. Sure, I get you. Yeah, tinfoil, you say to anybody, hey, eat some tinfoil, they're going to be like, it's like eating a hot pepper. Like, no one eats a hot pepper and they're like, I'm going to be able to handle it. That type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the one snack that I had in mind, this is very boring compared to the greatness of what we've just talked about cutting our insides up with. I was going to say cranberries. Because...
I don't think it needs an explanation. I think much like...
Oh, okay, you don't want an explanation? Okay.
I'm going to propose to you. You can choose whatever you want. Much like how we don't know the conclusion to Season 1 of Claws, I propose that you do not give us the explanation as to why cranberries is the ideal snack for Claws.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
It's cranberries. We don't know why.
That's been my snack since I watched them. It's on my notes. That was what I was gonna say.
Does it make sense? I really have no idea how the two tie together. It's probably offensive. I don't know, and I think that's the best way. Chances are, at the end, the explanation will only disappoint me in the worst way. Or you know what? It's fine. It's fine.
That's my snack. Cranberries. Okay, well, Zach, is there anything else you would like to say about the Dean Norris series?
Never again.
Never again Dean Norris, or never again Claws?
Both.
Well, no, never again Claws. Always and forever Dean Norris. Yes.
When I watched Men, Women, and Children, I genuinely thought there's no way there's another project in the Dean Norris filmography that could be worse than Men, Women, and Children. And I'm kind of shocked that, never mind, I found something in such close proximity to me finding Men, Women, and Children, or I guess rediscovering it, in something that's arguably worse.
Yeah.
It might make Claws worse than Men, Women, and Children. Men, Women, and Children bombed and no one's ever heard of it. This is getting a second season.
Yeah. Well, Weeds got like 5 or 7 seasons, and that shouldn't have made it past the writing room. But that's our life. This is the timeline we've found ourselves in for some reason. Even though so we're ending off the Dean Norris series on a very passionate note, very negatively passionate note. I would like to maybe give a glimpse give a little glimpse of the light at the end of the tunnel. Now that we're kind of at the end of the tunnel, because of course, now that this series is over, what are we going to do next? Where are we going? This is something that Zack and I thought we knew where we were going, and then things changed. So I think we're officially calling it miscellaneous. Yep. As great of a name that is for a series. We're trying to do some things that we're gonna care about. We're gonna be passionate about. We're gonna want to talk about that are a little more recent, that are kind of coming out this summer. So. Biggest example for me, of course, is Adventure Time. Adventure Time is ending. The series finale is going to come up sometime in June. We got to do an episode on Adventure Time. Jurassic Park 65 Dinosaur Boogaloo. I think we're doing that. I think that's the end of June, right?
Yep.
Okay. And things like that. We're gonna keep it a little fast and loose. We're gonna get some things that I think interest us, interest the current audience. And give our usual nonsense flair to it. Full with snacks, but with less Dean Norris. Sad to say.
Yes.
Anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add to this episode, Zach?
I'd like to make an amendment to my snack.
Oh, snack update. Here we go. What snack should we eat during Claws, Zach?
A bullet.
That's even shorter run than the tinfoil. Oh man. Okay. Well, I don't. How do we end these things?
I think we should play Lady Marmalade backwards.
I can get behind that. Yeah. Let's. You want to take the version from Claws with the bullet sounds included and reverse that? Great. I love it. Great. Perfect. Okay. Well, check it out, Mr. Norris. Thanks for listening. We respect you. Keep on trucking along.
All right, we're going into a tangent of True Detective Season 2.
No,
I love.
I'm not ready.
Much of America, I loved True Detective Season 1.
I loved
and
it
when
too.
Season 2 started, we got to the third episode, and everyone was like, "This is flaming hot garbage." I'm like, "No," it's going to pay off. It's like all these things are happening. It's building to something, and we get to the episode where, spoiler alert, Taylor Kitsch dies, and I'm like, what are they doing? But I still held out hope. I'm like, no, they're not going to let him die in vain. And the series ends with Rachel McAdams having Colin Farrell's baby. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Everybody was right. This is what America felt like when Lost ended. I finally have my Lost. You know what? No, you are a bad person.
Okay, another hot take. I loved the ending of Lost. I loved all of Lost also. So I'm not ready. I'm not ready to talk about True Detective Season 2. If we do discuss this in full detail, I would love to actually go back and watch both of them, Season 1 and Season 2, because I've only watched both of them once. But very, very much something that I've said on this podcast before is just give me a story. Don't give me the human element. I said that about Titanic. I hated the love aspect of that. Give me the cool info. Don't give me the love. Don't give me the romance. Don't give me the personal element of it. And I feel that way wholeheartedly, or probably the most strongly, when it's about crime shows. So True Detective, both of them, there's murders. They got to figure out who's committing the murders. That's the gist of it. It's a crime show. And, I'm sure neither Zack or anyone who's ever listened to this knows, but I love Law & Order. I love the original Law & Order. I know people don't know that. Because there's no character development. Very, very solely, the episodes focus on the case. They just got to solve the case solved, done. That's it. Yes, season finale, season premieres, we get some character development. Sure, they got to do it, but pretty much the original Law & Order is just good old story. I felt that season 2 of True Detective, without some of the bookends, I also dislike the baby thing at the end. I felt season 2 focused more on the actual case. I felt season 2 focused on the crime, something that I cared more about. Season 1 delved into that whole stuff of Matthew McConaughey being crazy because he sees floaters, because he's done drugs, because he's passionate. Like I get it. Like, he's a good character. He's a terrible actor, but he played a good character. I get it. Another thing I have to say, the one thing, my kind of point at the top of my True Detective discussion, I figured out who the murderer was in season 1 well before they revealed it. I did not figure it out who it was in season 2, and that's another reason I really liked it. Season 2 stumped me. I could not figure out who the murderers were. I think that's off the top of my dome. That's the best you're going to get for me in True Detective.
Horrible human being. Like, that's the only way to describe this. There are sadists in this world. They do unspeakable things to themselves. And
yes,
to
some of them
others.
like men, women, and children.
And some of them say True Detective season 2 is better. Now, I thought I was a contrarian. Like I say weird things like, The Matrix Revolutions is my favorite Matrix film. And people are like, you are a madman. You should be locked up. And then I hear things like that, and I'm like, some people just want to watch the world burn.
So this is while I have come to love the reactions I elicit when I give my opinions on True Detective, season 2 versus season 1. This definitely came just raw me. You know, I really tried to stay away. The only thing I really heard about True Detective before I watched all of it, and I watched both seasons kind of consecutively, was that True Detective season 1 is the greatest thing ever. That was really the only thing I heard, and that Matthew McConaughey was the greatest thing ever. I knew not to believe that because I already knew Matthew McConaughey, you know, is just can't do anything. He just mumbles his whole life. That's his deal.
But this was during the McConaissance. He won an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. He was in True Detective, and then he was in Interstellar. He hit the trifecta.
Oh, I mean, are we going to bring up Interstellar now too? Another garbage movie?
Rob, now he's just trying to hurt me. So
I know. I'm bringing up
he's
all the things Zack and I have
disagreed
about.
So I don't feel that bad.
Okay, but yes. So if any of this goes in the final episode, this is the seedy underbelly of Zack and I's relationship when we come to blows over movies.